Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand, live from the United Stand studio here in Manchester, England. How are we all doing? Thanks everyone for tuning in. Lots to get into with the latest Manchester United transfer news with me, Mark Goldbridge. We're going to be talking about Ten Hag's £100 million sale plan. Fabrizio Romano tweeted last night saying that Manchester United are actively working on 4 exits from Manchester United, four exit deals, which could actually mean 5 players going. We'll talk about that. Obviously, we've got the latest on what's going on with Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay. Other clubs could be coming in for them there. There's a bit of a Mason Greenwood update. There's a new kit coming out. There's a lot to talk about this morning on the United Stand. Make sure you smash a like and get involved. Also, make sure you get ready because I'm in Manchester. I've got my new podcast coming out today. I can't reveal the name. It's going to be out at 2 o'clock across all our socials. I think you're going to really enjoy it. I certainly will. Let's get into it anyway. So we're going to start off with, let's start off with deal 1. This £100 million deals that Erik Ten Hag is looking to do. Effectively, we know about Fred, Donny van der Beek, Scott McTominay and Maguire, and then Dean Henderson is still on the menu for Nottingham Forest as well. But we're going to start off with the Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay story because this is the one that's really confusing, captivating and corny. I couldn't think of a good word that was third. But yeah, this is what's going on with this situation at the moment. Harry Maguire, £30 million rejected. West Ham expected to go back in. Scott McTominay, £30 million rejected. Manchester Evening News are saying that Manchester United aren't sure West Ham will go back in, but Newcastle could well be monitoring that situation. Everton could well be monitoring the Harry Maguire situation. I don't care who's monitoring. Get involved and get these deals done. That's what we want to see because ultimately it's about moving these players on as soon as possible so we can bring other players in. And I want to say, look, last night we were reacting to these rejected deals that Manchester United had obviously not accepted from West Ham. And I'm still, sometimes they say sleep on a problem. Having slept on this bafflement that Manchester United have rejected a £30 million bid for Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire, 60 million combined, I still do not agree with that. And yes, in the cold light of day, if we still sell them both and we get another 5 million each, well done. But my concern is, as we've been down this road before many a times, we've seen Ander Herrera walk out the club for nothing when he was worth about 25 million. We've rejected a Jesse Lingard deal a year before. We've let him out down the road for nothing. I do worry about Man United and sales. Look, people can say, well, you know what? Beery says that Harry Maguire has indicated he is keen to join West Ham if they can agree a fee with Manchester United. That's coming from Standard Sport. Fred and McTominay in the new kit campaign. What if they don't get sold? Well, Fred's definitely goes, and I wouldn't worry about that, Isaiah. And Andy Weatherall has gifted his membership as he always does. I think with regards to these deals, we're not very good at selling. There is no evidence to suggest that we are good at selling. You've got Dan James from a couple of years ago. That's probably one of the only good deals we've done in the last 5 years. So I read a lot of things and I see people saying things like, well, people are moaning about us rejecting bids for Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire, and yet we've been involved in deals this summer for Onana, Højlund and Mount, where all our bids have been rejected first time and we end up signing them. So don't panic too much because this is just we moan about rejecting deals, but we were rejected on every deal we've done. So I get that. It's called positivity. But on the balance of positivity and negativity, when it comes to United sales, I struggle to be positive. And I hope those people who are being positive are correct. And I will say this right here, right now. If we end up selling Harry Maguire for 35 and we end up selling Scott McTominay for 35, I'll say fair play. They rejected the 30s and they got what they wanted. But this is Manchester United, and my feeling is that we may well have just lost a massive opportunity. I don't think we will ever get Scott McTominay £30 million next summer. You've got to be selling him this summer. And the same with Harry Maguire. I do think that is positive news about Maguire, that he's open to a move to West Ham. I mean, why he wouldn't be? We've discussed this too many times. But the active thing is that right now, and obviously Fabrizio tweeted about this last night, United are openly negotiating with West Ham for Harry Maguire and potentially Scott McTominay. They are openly negotiating with Sociedad for Donny van der Beek. There are open negotiations going on with Fred. We just don't know where he's going to go. And Dean Henderson remains a possibility for Nottingham Forest. So we've got to just get these deals done so that we can then move on to the Amrabats of this world. I think we should sell Maguire and McTominay for 60 million plus add-ons, says Moore. Look, add-ons make a lot of sense. No one's mentioned those. Add-ons makes a lot of sense. I think that if you said to West Ham, because I think it was Melissa Reddy in Sky said last night that Man United want £45 million for Scott McTominay. Maybe Eric Ten Hag just doesn't want to sell him. But if he'd sell him for 45, I mean, even if I was Scott McTominay, I'd be like, so you've rejected the £30 million bid. Is that because you want to keep me? Or is that because you want more money? And what we're hearing is that Ten Hag would like to keep McTominay, but if someone offers 40, he'll take it. Well, if I'm McTominay, that doesn't fill me with great confidence. I'd be like, well, the only reason I'm staying is because of 10 million quid. And, you know, Daily Hibbert's just gifted 10 memberships. What a legend you are. So I suppose the question is, we can all report the news. What do we think is going to happen? And I have picked up the phone this morning. I've been up very early to get into Manchester, so I have picked up the phone. I have spoken to a few people. I hadn't last night, as I said. In relation to Maguire, he will leave Man United. I mean, I knew that last night logically, but he will leave United. That deal, United are pushing it. Ten Hag is pushing it. They're not rejecting the Maguire deal. So basically, there's two stories here on McTominay and Maguire, and I'll tell you the same about what's happening with Donny and Fred and Henderson. In relation to Maguire and McTominay, United are negotiating with West Ham. West Ham will keep bidding for Maguire until they get a deal done because they want him. They probably won't keep bidding for McTominay. So that deal could potentially be over if West Ham don't want to bid again. But they'll keep bidding for Harry Maguire. Man United's stance is this. Harry Maguire is for sale. They want him gone. Ten Hag has took the captaincy off him. He's his fourth choice centre-back. He wanted Kim Min-jae. He wanted Disasi. He wants Todibo. He's got people lined up. Maguire can go. He wants Maguire to go. End of story, new page. So Maguire, really, I would say 90% club he's going to go, unless he does something stupid with his career and says, I'm not leaving. And it won't be like the Wolf of Wall Street where everyone cheers. They'll be like, why? Why would you stay? So Maguire should go. And I think that will come to its conclusion with West Ham or somebody else will swoop in. And I'd always be worried if I was West Ham on that because I think Maguire would like a bigger club than West Ham. I think he'd like a Spurs or a Chelsea or a Newcastle. Whether he'll get that or not, I don't know. So I think West Ham do need to move quick on that one, and he will go. Luke and David, welcome to the Members Club. In relation to Scott McTominay, we'll do him next. I think Ten Hag wants to keep McTominay as a squad option. I think that he's got Casemiro, he will get Amrabat, he's got Eriksen, he's got Mount, he's got Bruno, Mainoo's injured, and he's got Scott McTominay. So he's got 7 options. And I think he wants to keep McTominay around because McTominay is he's a little bit like beans on toast, isn't he? You know, if you're mapping out your week ahead menu, we all do it. You might be having fish and chips on a Friday, you know, lasagna on a Wednesday. Thursday you feel like something, you know, I don't know, tuna pasta bake, get a bit of tuna in there. Tuesday, you know, something a bit vegetarian chili. Monday night, I don't know, beans on toast, you know, and that's what McTominay is. He's not a lasagna. He's not glamorous, but he's a bench filler. He can fill a role. And I think Ten Hag looks at McTominay and goes, I wasn't planning on getting rid of him. He's my 6th choice midfielder. I can give him 10 minutes here and there and Carabao Cup games. If he goes, I've got to find a replacement. And my replacement for Fred is Amrabat. I don't mind keeping McTominay. He's not really but then you've got Richard Arnold and you've got John Murtagh saying, but we've had £30 million from West Ham. And I think Ten Hag goes, it's not really enough to get a replacement. If they give us 40, I can go and get a replacement. But for £30 million, we may as well just keep him. I don't think he's desperate to keep Scott McTominay as a really important player. I think he wants to keep him because he's 5th or 6th choice, and does £30 million give him a replacement? So I think that's why he wants 40 million. Be interesting whether he achieves it or not. So yeah, look, I think McTominay does need to go for himself. I don't think Ten Hag wanting to keep him is because you're going to be playing for Man United. I think it's because you're fifth or sixth choice, and Ten Hag's probably like, well, there's not a lot of time left in the window, and I do need 6 or 7 midfielders with Mainu injured. Fred's going to go, option 3. Fred's going to go. We don't know where. He's not played for a month. He's not on strike. He's not refusing to play. He expected to have left by now. United expected to have left by now. I think I think Galatasaray was the club that Fred wanted to go to, and unfortunately they've not been able to put together a financial package that Manchester United can accept. So therefore Fred's plans have sort of fell apart, and it's now about where you want to go to next. Fulham don't really want to pay any more than 15 million, and obviously Saudi Arabia is an option. So Fred will go, but obviously it's not happening as quick as we would like. When you talk about Maguire, a replacement for Maguire will be Todibo. To get Amrabat, it's not just about... I heard somebody saying last night, well, if we sell Maguire first, we can get Amrabat. No, that money would need to go on a centre-back. Man United are very much about replacing players. It's not just about raising money, because they have raised a bit of money from Elanga. But that Elanga money will be towards the Højlund deal because it's attacker. They've got to sell Fred, Donny or McTominay to get Amrabat. It won't be the Maguire 30 million that lets us go and get Amrabat. It's got to be position specific. With Fred, McTominay and Donny all leaving and bringing in funds, can you go for Lavia instead of Amrabat, says Nikhil. Well, we need 2 players. If Fred, Donny and McTominay go, you do need 2 players. McTominay deal is big for financial fair play. It's 100% academy profits, says Stevie Mac. So on Fred, if he goes, Amrabat comes in. Donny is more advanced than Fred. Donny is speaking to Sociedad. Sociedad have spoken to Manchester United, and there is a deal there to be done. Again, if that happens, it helps us go for Amrabat. The fascinating thing for me is that the combined fee of Fred and Donny van der Beek will be less than what Man United will accept for Scott McTominay. I can't live in a world and refuse to live in a world and refuse to believe we live in a world where Scott McTominay is worth more than Fred and Donny combined. But we're living in it. Welcome to it. Could buy a takeaway on Friday or dig that old can of soup out. McSoup, says Dre. So I think Donny will go for about 15. I think Fred will go for about 15. I think we'll make about 30, which will cover Amrabat. It's amazing we won't take 30 for Scott McTominay, but there we go. Who makes these decisions, says MLK. I don't know. I don't know. I asked the question last night. If anyone wants to have a go this morning, please get in the chat and let us know. Can you justify why Scott McTominay, who's 27 in December, is worth 35 million quid? Can you justify why Man United would reject a £30 million bid? I don't know. I mean, look, very easily, you sell Fred and you sell Donny and you bring in Amrabat. You sell McTominay and you pay the £20 million release clause for Tyler Adams. You've made 10 million profit. I don't get it. Morning, Mark. I know you've rated this current window as a 6. What would you rate the window? What would the club have to do to make it an 8 out of 10, says Daily Hibbert. And David Sherwin says, how can we have Martinez, Varane, Lindelof and Todibo and everyone be happy? Keep everyone happy. Tough to want to join and play, not play regularly, says David Sherwin. I think in relation to the centre-backs, David, if Maguire stayed, he would still play games. Not very often, but he would still play games. Varane's still going to get injured, you know. Let's be positive. 100 million in sales is looking likely, says Rory. And Chris has been a member for 4 months. Thank you very much. I rate this transfer window at the moment. And sorry, let me just do Dean Henderson first. So 4 deals that United are actively working on right now. McTominay and Maguire at West Ham. Donny, these are all outgoings. Donny with Sociedad, Fred, and then Dean Henderson is still, according to Fabrizio Romano, Dean Henderson is still a target of Forest. They've brought this Turner guy in, who will apparently be their reserve goalkeeper. They still want Dean Henderson. So there are 4 deals for United to work on there. Would we raise £100 million from that? Would that make me think we've had a better summer transfer window? Well, if the summer transfer window at the moment is a 6, and I think it is a 6 because we're still owned by the Glazers, if we could raise £100 million from Henderson, Maguire, McTominay, Fred and Donny, then I think that knocks it up to a 7. And then I think if you buy Todibo and Amrabat, I think you're in excess of an 8. Yeah, I do. And, you know, the only reason it can't be a 9 or a 10 is because we know if the Glazers had left the club and Qatar had come in, or a new owner had come in, they would have got Kim Min-jae. They probably would have got a superstar striker to go with Højlund as well. Kilo, thank you very much. How does it work out to £100 million? Fred, 15. Donny, 15. That's 30. Maguire, 35. That's 65. Henderson, probably 15 to 20. So that's 85. And then, I mean, if McTominay goes, you're in excess of £100 million. So you're going to be just under 100 million, or you're going to be over 100 million. Which makes it very interesting in relation to net spend. I mean, I don't normally say this, but in relation to net spend, if United have currently spent around 100 on Onana and Mount, 60 on Højlund, £160 million has been spent on players. If we were to sell Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, Fred, Donny, Henderson and Alanga, that's about £140 million in sales, making our net spend 20 million. Keep that in your head, Glazonomics. Mick J says, is this credible, Mark? Fiorentina Amrabat has turned down a move to Barca and insists on playing under Atletico Madrid, according to Sport. Mick, that's the biggest load of crap I've ever heard. Biggest load of crap I've ever heard. Why would you reject Barcelona to go and play for Atletico Madrid? And also, everything we've suggested and everything we know, and I don't know this. I mean, he's not following me on Instagram, and I haven't got his agent's number or anything like that. So I don't know about this. But everybody credible, from Fabrizio to a lot of other people, have said that Amrabat wants to sign for Manchester United. So I don't think there's any reason to suggest that that won't be the case. But we've just got to raise the money. There are interesting options out there. I mean, Jamie Carragher was on Twitter last night having an argument with Gary about, you know, Liverpool's transfer window being embarrassing because they haven't bought Lavia yet and they should buy Casido. I don't know what these people are doing sometimes. You know, they're on mainstream media trying to be credible, and then they're arguing about transfers like you wouldn't take a job at the club yourself. But there is an opportunity with Lavia there. There is an opportunity with Lavia there. And just as much as Lavia would be a very good signing for Liverpool and Klopp would develop him, he'd also be a very good signing for us. I wouldn't say no to Lavia. I like the idea of Amrabat. I still think Gravenberch is very interesting at Bayern Munich. I don't think Tyler Adams is a bad deal if Chelsea do that, if Man United do that. So there are options out there beyond Amrabat if we don't get him, but also Amrabat and another. I would love to see a midfield roster this coming season of Casemiro, Amrabat, Mainu, Eriksen, Mount, Bruno, and another signing. I'd like to have 7. I think 7 midfielders when you're going to play 60 games and one of them's a kid. You know, Mainu's a kid. I think that's the right. I think that's the right balance. I think that's what I would go with. Yeah. Donny could be a loan deal. I mean, look, I haven't read that, so that might be new news coming out that Donny would be a loan deal. Let me just check. That would be disappointing, and obviously that would be what my main concern is with United, is that we're just so bad at sales. I mean, loan deals are bad deals. Why is no one looking at Paredes from PSG? Says Spide. I like him, but I think age-wise he might not be the right profile for us. Harry Maguire from the Standard has indicated he's keen to join West Ham if they can agree a fee with him. I think it'd be a good move for him. I think it'd be a good move for West Ham. I've not heard anything about this Donny loan deal. About 40 minutes ago, Fabrizio said that there will be new talks today for West Ham for both Maguire and McTominay. Keep an eye. Make sure you subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. We will obviously go live as soon as there are any updates. I think it could be a busy day or two, so we will be live about that. If anything happens. But no, I can't see anything about this loan deal. Has anyone got... Oh, Fabrizio apparently said it earlier. Look, what I would say on that is that it wouldn't shock me if United loaned Dean Henderson or they loaned Donny van der Beek. I mean, it's the weak way out. We've seen it with Telles and Bay last year. What did that do for United last season, loaning Bay and Telles? Nothing. They've gone for next to nothing a year later. So you're just kicking the ball down the road when we need money now. And, you know, I would rather take 15 million for Donny now than go, we might get 20 if he has a good season at Sociedad. Because what if he has a bad season at Sociedad? What if he gets injured again? We tried this with Martial and it didn't work. So I don't think a loan deal for me. Would you take Neymar, says Hugo? Well, Neymar is apparently leaving PSG. Mbappe is apparently leaving PSG. Look, Man United are a club in need of attackers. They are two big players. Man United are a big club. I personally don't think we'll be anywhere near either of them. But they are, you know, never say never with Manchester United. I personally do not think Neymar really fits Manchester United. I think there's got to be an injury concern. There's got to be a concern about how he can adapt to the Premier League at this latter stage of his career and the intensity of it. I mean, I'd love to see him in the Premier League. I think with Neymar, he's one of those people that if he went to Chelsea, I'd like to watch Chelsea with Neymar, but I don't know. I mean, I'd never refuse Neymar. I mean, he's a fantastic player, but I don't know that he's right for what we need. It could create more problems than we need because you've got Garnacho, you've got Sancho, you've got Antony, you've got Rashford, and Neymar. All right, he can play as a number 10, he can play as a false 9, he can play, but I don't know that it solves problems. I mean, Mbappe, forget about it. I mean, of course, he's welcome. I think Kylian Mbappe is the best player in the world. But I do think, and I've not heard anything about it, but to me, Maguire goes to DB, McTominay and Fred and Donny go, Amrabat and another, whether it's Lavia or Tyler Adams or whatever. And I would like to see in the latter part of the window some sort of striker. Now, whether it's like you've said, Taremi or whatever, I don't know. I'd like to see another striker. It's options, isn't it? I don't think Mbappe is as far-fetched as people say, says Daly. Shirt sales would be massive. And Ike says, imagine the media circus with Neymar and the first problem he creates in the dressing room. I mean, talking about the kits, I feel safe to say that the third kit has been released today. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. I personally like it more than the away kit, but I feel safe to talk about the kit here because although people will say stop promoting the Glazers, Roy Keane, in one of the biggest moves of the summer, is promoting Man United's third kit. Things you thought you'd never see. £20 million net spend if we sell all those players you mentioned, Mark. Get into Dido, Amrabat and Kane, says Christian. I mean, imagine if we had a £20 million net spend. On one hand, that would be really good business from all the sales and all the buys. On the other hand, it's Glazonomics because they've spent next to nothing. But look, you know what? I can see the positives and the negatives in that. In relation to the kit, though, yeah, I mean, look, whatever you think about Roy Keane and Glazers and buying kits, whatever, if you'd said to me in May, the third kit is going to see Roy Keane in an advert for it, I'd have said, that's never going to happen. Nonsense. But it has. It has. It's interesting, you know, and especially because Roy Keane, I mean, I've always hoped that Roy Keane would mend his relationship with Manchester United and Sir Alex Ferguson. I don't know whether that's the journey towards that, but you know, people spend a lot. One of my biggest fears has always been that in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years' time, we will see a new statue where it's the class of 92. I can imagine that statue of them in a line. And that would be absolutely fantastic. But the era that they played in, they wouldn't have won anywhere near what they'd won if it wasn't for Roy Keane. And Andy Weatherall was gifted a membership again. And Daily Hibbert says, can you see a last-minute signing of Kane? I'll talk about that in a moment. But look, for me, if there's one outfield player that deserves a statue from that Premier League era under Sir Alex Ferguson, it's Roy Keane. And I'd sit and have that conversation with anybody because when you watched it and lived it, not only was he a massively underrated player, I think some people just think he was a bit of a thug. He was a brilliant footballer. He was also a manager on the pitch. In fact, you know, I don't rate John Terry, I don't rate Steven Gerrard, but that's because they played for rivals. But they were leaders on the pitch. You know, they led those teams. But Roy Keane was a manager on the pitch as well, not just a leader. And I've always wanted Keane and United to repair that relationship because you see him on the telly, you know, and there seems to be that distance between it and Roy Keane. And I really hope that he can fix those issues with the club and Sir Alex because he deserves to be held up there as an absolute legend of this football club, and I'd love to see a statue of him outside Manchester United at some point. I think we should have more. One thing I would say about Arsenal in the Emirates is if you go down there, is that they've got quite a few statues. They've got Thierry Henry. Some people think it's a Tony Adams statue. It actually is Tony Adams. Like, he goes there every day, he's got nothing else to do, sprays himself silver and just, stands there like that. But they have got a few statues. Any news on a reserve goalkeeper, says Darren. Mulaney. Yeah, we spoke about this yesterday, Darren. So the situation with the reserve goalkeeper is that Suzuki did turn Manchester United down. Good day, Mark. Australians are excited for the new season, and then we remember our sleep schedule is screwed for the next 8 months. Oh, United, mate, you know what? I've got so much respect for you in Australia, India, America, all around the world, Indonesia. I can't name everywhere, but you know what I mean. Did it for a couple of weeks with the American tour, enjoyed it, but it does impact you. You do feel tired, so respect. Does the third kit not look like a Liverpool top, says Stephen? Only because you've said that. I don't think it does, no. But on the reserve goalkeeper scenario, Suzuki was the goalkeeper that he wanted Verbruggen, who has gone to Man United. He wanted Suzuki, who is going to go to, I think, a Belgian club. And he also wanted, I can't remember who the other goalkeeper was. We were sort of looking at Sommer as well. But the scenario now is that Tom Heaton's been told to stay, and Tom Heaton's been told that he will be the reserve goalkeeper this year. So I think the door's closed on that. Dean Henderson will leave, but I don't think we're going to be bringing in any other goalkeeper now. There gets to a point where you have to sort of admit defeat, and I think with the reserve goalkeeper, Ten Hag had a few people in mind, but it's not going to happen. Harry was posing for his status on the pitch, as Glenny boy. Look, I think in relation to centre-backs, we're not far off that. He wanted Kim Min-jae, didn't get him. He wanted Disasi, he's gone to Chelsea. He wants Todibo. I think if Todibo goes somewhere else, is there a fourth choice centre-back? I don't know. I really don't. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I think that with the goalkeeping situation, I think it'll be a longer-term plan now. You keep Heaton for a year. Heaton's reliable. I mean, I'd be worried if Onana got injured and we had to play Heaton a lot. But there's a lot of clubs in that situation, really, and the reserve goalkeeper is always a difficult situation. Keane versus Juve was one of the best performances out there, says MUFC fans. Thank you very much. Kovar is still there, but I think he's going to go. We might even sell him, I don't know. Hopefully it'll be a loan deal. Michael Hill says we've got to pay Maguire 9 million. Rice was 105 million. You moan when we sell cheap and now moan when we want a fair price. McTominay is worth 40 if Rice is worth 105 million, says Michael Hill. Probably one of the worst explanations I've ever seen. Declan Rice is actually a very good footballer. Scott McTominay's not. You're better off, Michael, looking at it like this. Why are Fred and Donny combined worth less than what we'd take for Scott McTominay? That's the thing for me. Good morning, Mark. I'm Jamaican, living in the US, up watching Japan versus Colombia and watch the United stand. Keep up the good work, says Carrie. Thank you very much. And Keelan, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. I'm just going to mention Mason Greenwood very quickly. Well, I say quickly, it will turn into something big, as it always does. Further clip of him training last night. Looked like he was training on a local park and looked like he was shooting like me. But look, I mean, I'm not going to start talking about somebody's ability because they kick a ball over the bar. That is a side issue here. Lindelof would be fuming if we sign a centre-back and he goes to fourth position, says Robert McCormack. I think Lindelof is well liked by Ten Hag, Robert, and I think we need 4 centre-backs. But look, I think in relation to Mason Greenwood thing, the interesting thing for me is that you start to, send a few WhatsApps, you start to read a few articles, and I think something is going to get said about this surely before Friday, because what I don't understand about United is once the Premier League season starts, why are they waiting to announce it? Are they waiting to do a sale? Are they thinking that the day they sell Maguire, they can say Mason Greenwood's back, and it's sort of like a positive and a negative, or a negative and I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it. Eugene says the new advert seems a little bit too satanic. Okay, thanks, Eugene. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just saying, you know, it's your thoughts. But look, I think with regards to Siddharth says Goldbridge saves football. Oh, he's got an inside track on my podcast. I think in relation to Greenwood, I'm just of the opinion now, make the announcement and then we can all deal with it. There's no point in hoping for, well, there's always point in hoping for what you want, you know, but what I'm saying is I think United have made this decision and they just need to do it. There's never going to be a right time. You're going to get a backlash, whatever you do. And I don't know, look, this is a complete prediction. I'm leaning towards the fact that I think they're just going to get him back. I do, I think that. Because, you know why I think that? And forget the rights or wrongs about it, because everyone will have their opinion on that. If they were going to loan him, you'd have done that in July. Let him have a pre-season somewhere. So if the loan was on the table, that surely would have happened. If you were going to get rid of him, well, that's not going to happen under the Glazers, because that's paying somebody millions of pounds who's worth millions of pounds to leave. So by the exercise of deduction, the obvious thing is they're going to keep him, because the loan seems to have, they've missed the boat on that. This is the Glazers in charge. They're not going to pay somebody off who then signs for somebody else for free. So obviously I think they're probably going to bring him back. Just seeing the Roy Keane advert, immense. Would love him in our midfield alongside Casemiro, just imagine. Amrabat has rejected Manchester United to sign for Atletico Madrid, with Liverpool and Barcelona mentioned as other interested parties, says Sport. Well, look, Sport is not reliable, Snakey. This is the second time. I'll come back to that in a minute. Let me just close off the Greenwood thing. So I think he's probably going to be coming back. I think United need to announce that. We don't want more statues at Old Trafford, Mark, because it reminds me of the Liverpool game, says Glennie. And Keane asked Ten Hag for tickets to the Carabao Cup final and we won it. Ten Hag must have invited him to Carrington to meet the squad and they did the photo shoot, says Kanishka. Thanks, pal. King says, I think he's 100% coming back, but I think he won't play until January because he's got to get back to match fitness. Yeah, you know what? I was just about to say that. I can see a scenario where they say he's coming back, but obviously he won't play for ages and he'll be training for months and he'll probably start playing, you know, November, October, maybe December time. And they'll hope that the passage of time makes people more open to it. Hi, Mark. Can you confirm next season would be 5 Champions League places because City won both League and Champions League last season, says Obama. I don't know how it works, but there is talk of that. All I'm going to say is make your own mind up. There's been enough discussion about it. You know my stance. I don't want him back. And if he scores a goal for United, I'm not celebrating it. I'll celebrate the goal for United. I'll be happy that United score, but I won't be jumping up and going, get in, generational talent or anything like that. That's just my stance. That might change in the coming months and years. I don't know. But my stance is no, I don't want him back. And, you know, you can pick the pips out of that. We don't need to fall out about it. That's just how I feel. And if you want him back and you're going to celebrate the goals, fair play, that's up to you. But we're all entitled to our opinion. But my feeling is that it's going to happen. And I think the club just needs to get on with it. And I don't think there's any amount of PR they can do that's going to change some people's minds. Don't often get to watch live, says Paul. So thank you to all the United staff. Always enjoyable, says Paul. Posty Paul. Postman Pat Paul. Wilson, welcome to the Members Club. It's not Mark finally admitting it, WFQ. I've said it a few times, but people keep mixing it up with what I would do if I was in charge of the football club. If they want to retain a value in him, they should have loaned him abroad, let him get back to playing football, and then sold him next summer when there's a value. No one will buy him at the moment. That's what I think the football club should have done, but they haven't done that. What's Roy Keane's role at United, says Mike. Got no idea. Let's go back to this story about Amrabat, because I'm quite intrigued by this Amrabat story. So Sport, which is a Spanish paper close to Barcelona, are saying that Amrabat has rejected Man United. He's rejected Barcelona because he wants to go to Atletico Madrid. Now, what I would acknowledge is that there is some truth, well, not truth, repetition, because I heard this a couple of weeks ago that Amrabat really wants to go and play for Atletico Madrid and Simeone. But Sport is not reliable. They're not a reliable source. I'm not saying they get everything wrong, but they're not reliable. Fabrizio is. Some of the other people are. And we've had it from numerous very good Italian sources who have been spot on about Onana and have been spot on about Højlund, they have said Amrabat wants to come to Manchester United. So I stick with that. I stick with the fact that he wants to come to Manchester United. But you've got to get your finger out. My concern has always been, we want Amrabat. He's not really playing games for Fiorentina in pre-season. Somebody could just go with the money and buy him. So we do need to move quicker, I think, in relation to that. But look, people are saying clip this. If he goes to Atletico Madrid, then that's a change in the story. You can clip up what you like, but I've heard Fabrizio, I've heard Alfredo Padula, I've heard I think Di Marzio, I've heard other people say that Amrabat wants to come to Manchester United. That's what he wants to do. So I'll go with that based on what they said about Onana and what they've said about other deals over this summer and other summers. So that's what I think is going to happen, yeah. Apparently, Locatelli is going to go for £20, says Liv. That's very, very cheap. Very, very cheap indeed. Let me just go back here. Is Chelsea buying young talent so that they can sell them later? I don't know, AP. Gravenberch or hijack the Kudos deal and then look at João Felix loan to buy. Do people realise what Kudos is? Paul Crampton's gifted 5 memberships. Kudos is not a striker. Kudos is more of a right-sided attacker who can play centrally as well. I don't know why people want Kudos at Manchester United. I don't think they're understanding what he is. He plays in the places that Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Antony, Bruno, Mount, Eriksen play. I don't really see him as a forward, if I'm being honest with you. But I mean, he could play there, but can he play there any more than Sancho can play there? Rashford can play there. I don't think we need somebody who could play up front because we've got Rashford for that. What we need is a specialist forward. That's what I'm looking for from Manchester United. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Paul Crampton, thank you very much. A lot of people talking about Greenwood. Look, I've said what I've said, and you'll have different opinions, and I respect that. It's not something that we need to run another poll on. I think he'll be back. That will please a lot of you. It will frustrate a lot of you. We're just going to have to live with it, and you make your own choice. And if you want to stand up and cheer at Old Trafford when he walks on the pitch, that's up to you. If you want to sit down and say nothing about it, or if you want to, not turn up, or you want to, scream and shout on social media, that's up to you as well. Because ultimately, we've always said it's not worth hiding away from it. It's a big topic. It's going to happen one way or the other, and people are entitled to an opinion. People just need to grow up and have an opinion about it. It's, unfortunately, it's a very serious topic. People have seen the pictures, they've heard the audio. Man United are thinking about bringing him back. Deal with it. It's the real world. It's grown-up world, and guess what? Life sometimes can be about things that aren't easy. Make your choice. If you're comfortable with it and you can sleep at night, that's up to you. If you're happy with it, if you're not happy with it, make your own choice. I really am not going to try and tell you you're wrong or tell you you're right. It's a personal choice, and it's as simple as that. They don't want to sell him, especially since all players is listed as assets, says Ryan. The interview is probably coming, Ryan, yeah. I personally don't want to see that interview because ultimately it's like Harry Maguire's interview after Greece, isn't it? It's a one-sided interview to make yourself look good. It's a PR thing, and it's not a truthful interview of what actually happened. It's not a panorama documentary. It's a PR. The interview is PR. It will be, let's make everyone like Mason Greenwood again, and that's a lot of like Piers Morgan's Ronaldo interview. That was just Ronaldo. That was Piers Morgan saying, we're just going to try and make it all about you and make you look good. I don't like that type of interview. I think the best interviews you get are where people can be scrutinised, and that's the best investigative interview, whatever you want to call it. So, but you're probably right, that will happen. Love the streams, keep up the great work. Anyway, back on track where we were. Big day. I think there's going to be some big updates today. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner. I think there's going to be some big updates around certainly the West Ham bids for Maguire. United are working on these sales, and the sooner we get the sales done, the better. I'd like to see some here we goes today, hopefully, for some United players. so we can start moving on that Amrabat deal. That's really important. And of course, the biggest news of all is that the Goldbridge podcast that many people have been asking for, probably about 5. No, many people have been asking this for years. It's coming out at 2 o'clock today on all podcast platforms. So get ready for that. 2 o'clock today. I'm not even going to tell you what it's all about. It's football related. I think you'll enjoy it. It's interactive. I think you'll enjoy it. If you go to That's Football Community tab, you could still be involved in it because I'm going to go and record it now. Speak to you all later. Thanks everyone for watching. Mark, you need to make a McTominay Beans on Toast t-shirt now, says David Fisher. I'd forgotten I'd even said it. Take care, everyone. We'll speak to you a little bit later, and we could be speaking to you sooner rather than later because I feel like we're going to get some news today on sales.